Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. And as always, thank you for all your support, including sharing, chatting, liking, and subscribing. Now roll that famous logo animation. Good evening and welcome back to Computerized Start Live. I'm your host, Justin D. Morgan, and yes, I am live tonight. And I think I got started almost on time, too. So let's see here who we have in the chat. We have Thomas Armstrong. Hi, Thomas. And we have SadMac356. Hi, SadMac. Is this a Chips is downstream? Well, I hope it's going to be a Chips are going to be up by the end of the stream. So let's see here. We have a new coffee goal because it is June. So we have the June tip jar. Link is in the description. I don't know where everyone is. They probably thought I would still be goofing off with my NAS, but I have some good news on that front. I finally got it all up and running and put together. My NAS is now in a case again for the first time in like a year or two. Because it was in a case that was a mini ATX case or micro ATX case. And then that motherboard failed and I pulled a motherboard I already had to replace it, which was a full-size ATX, or regular ATX, which would not fit in the case. So the motherboard's been sitting on a box outside of the case for I don't know how long, and then actually got to the point where one of the hard drive slots in the backplane in the case I had failed, so there was a hard drive that was just kind of hanging out outside the case too, but I broke down and bought a new case, and so this was a put it all back together, replace the cables, and in fact, I had to replace 2 of the drives, so luckily I have the thing set up for ZFS Z2, so it is back together, and that means now, once again, if I need to do this, I can! Because yeah, my Be Right Back music was on my NAS, so while the NAS was down, I couldn't do the Be Right Back screen and have hold music. So anyways, now that we've done that, let's see here. Oh yeah, I think there's one more announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our favorite segment, Wheel of Regrets. Here's your host, Justin D. Morgan.
Hey, who comes with these titles anyway?
Yes, the elevator is back, and this is Thomas Armstrong. SadMac says, Wheel of Regrets. Or Jason says, I made it. Yes, Gutbomb, the artist formerly known as Gutbomb Tech, but is actually known as Gutbomb Tech, but it's Jason. Yes, it's me, Justinio. Pay no attention to my slight resemblance to Mario, because I don't want to get sued by Nintendo. And howdy, Soccer Wrench, welcome. So let's see here, we are in Wheel of Regrets. We have a couple of potential regrets here. Oh, let's see here. I guess I should probably... Let's see here. Which one of these is the one I need to can't hide? It is... Oh. There we go. That was the mystery box hiding the workbench. Thomas Armstrong says, I got me eBay regrets this week. All right, well, this first potential regret comes to us from an eBay seller in Illinois. So hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in Illinois. In fact, because I wasn't sure exactly what it was because of the small box, I've already opened it. I apologize. And then I stuck it somewhere where I didn't see it right away. But anyways, I wasn't quite sure the item that should have been in the box fit, but sure enough, this box was just big enough for a Trident video card. Because I needed another one and apparently we got some bent pins that I don't remember seeing in the auction photo, but whatever, I can fix that. But it is a Jaton brand Trident video card. Seemingly, that's all Jaton made was Trident cards, but I think they made other things as well. And it does appear as if this one... Yeah, I'm trying to look for where they made it. It does not say made in US. So this one may have actually been late enough that they had started making cards overseas. So there we go. As a Trident Blade 3D 9880 with RAM and VGA. Yep, a Trident video card. It was cheap. It's the only kind of Trident cards I buy these days are cheap ones, because those are where the regrets are. Alright, and the next two items, it doesn't really matter what order I open them in, because they are going to spoil each other. So we've got a big envelope from New Jersey. We have a small envelope from Indiana. So hi to all my eBay sellers and viewers in both New Jersey and Indiana. And a special greetings to VCF East, which, well, you missed it in April, so you'll have to wait till April. Oh, and they just had a swap meet. I was not there. I hope someone got some Trident cards. So, anyways... Alright, so from the small package, we have some components. And from the big package, we have part of a priority mail package. We have, yes, more components. Yes. So what do we have indeed? Well, from the one eBay seller, I bought some new old stock NTE 74LS138 chips. These are from the eBay seller in New Jersey. Interestingly enough, NTE was based in New Jersey, so these didn't get far in the world. NTE is now out of business, unfortunately, but these are new old stock chips. They have a good chance of working. And from the eBay seller in Indiana, we have some NTE 74S138 chips. So there we go. I might have had some more of these chips somewhere in the basement, but I didn't want to risk it. Because, well, we have computer here. And I pulled up the schematic for computer. Well, the schematic for an Apple II Plus. I also pulled up the, Thomas says, S138, go fast, go high current. Well, I will have to take your word for it because I could not find a datasheet that said what current the S variant will do versus the LS variant. It's like that's in a different page of the datasheet book, or I was looking in the wrong place. But anyways, what was I doing? Oh yeah, so I looked in the Apple II Plus 2E troubleshooting and repair guide. It's usually my go-to book for Apple II Plus and Apple IIe computers. Because some of the schematics for the Apple II Plus are just hard to read. So I went down to let's see, I think it's I want to say it's somewhere around page 114, maybe? Oh, yeah, there we go. Page 113. All right. Thomas says, my memory, this is about 400% more current and twice as fast. Hi, Jesse. We have I8386SX saying 2026, the year of computer, or in my case, the year of nothing. Well, I am hoping that your year may improve during the second half. That is certainly my hope. Anyways, page 113. I'm going to spare you the other parts of the flowchart. Symptom: card in peripheral slot won't work. Problem: slot not being accessed. And it gives two components that it might be for the Apple II Plus. And both of them are 74 LS138s. And then bad card. But we know it's not a bad card. So we're going to start with the 74 LS138s. And I am going to start with replacing them with like chips. However, if we discover the problem is that there's too big of a load for the direct replacement that's on the board, then that's why I bothered to find some 74S138s. So if we continue to have problems. Now, of course, the third symptom is bad card, and it did not escape me that the problem could still be some chip on this board is having trouble with maybe the slot loading or computer loading. So that still is a possibility. But anyways, so I got the card. There's our LED cheat sheet that's still attached to it somehow. So I was first going to start by... Thomas says the S138 solves the problem in pets. All right, well, I will go to them if I need to, but it could just be a bad LS138. It could be a bad other chip. So the two components, it should be in row H. Well, if it was an Apple II Plus, it would be in row H. But I think on this computer, I think it's in row G. I believe it's G2. Here's one of the 74 LS138s right here. And I bet it's going to be G12. Yep, it should be this one right here. So we got these two components here. They're 74 LS138s. Because this is an NE556. I think that's a 175. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit since I know where the chips are now. Anyways, I believe these are going to be the equivalent chips in the schematic. Hi, Joseph Norris. Welcome. Joseph says, I am headed to bed, but just saw you live and had to stop by. I have been a professional IT person for 27 years and would not know half of what you are doing. Well, it certainly is something I've picked up over the years. I've had many good tutors over the years. So I do have to say I have learned from some of the best by watching their videos. It'd be Mac84, Frankus Creations, so Steve, Bruce. Trying to think of some of the others I regularly watch. I guess Adrian Black. I have to admit I watch Adrian's Digital Basement. Maybe I don't do the debug walkthroughs like he does, but I do certainly appreciate his repair style. I know Thomas has coached me in the chat. Jesse has coached me in the chat before. Joe has coached me, and I've watched some of Joe's videos. Other coaches, Gutbaum, he does repairs. I know I'm missing people. That's why I usually don't like to list names, because I know I'll miss a lot of people. I guess a few other channels alike. Callan. I'm trying to remember his channel name. It's like 74XX or something like that. He does console repairs, like the boards that go in video game consoles, the cabinets, like the actual. Yeah, trying to think of what I'm trying to think of. Oh boy. Yeah, words hard tonight. I know, yeah, I know I'm missing lots of people, so I do apologize if I've missed you. There's lots of good people, and I just learned by watching and doing. Yeah, Arcade Repair. Actually, I haven't seen Callan upload. There we go, 74XX Arcade Repair. Oh! Oh, it looks like I missed one of his uploads. There you go, Arcade Repairs. And actually there's another new channel. Let's see, there was another new channel I've been watching. Like Matt. Oh, I got a whole bunch of channels I could probably. Was it Matt? Matt. I think this was it. Matt Learns Things. Here we go. Nice, another relatively small channel. There you go. Matt Learns Things. He does video game consoles. And he learns things. And then, of course, I can't. Probably also have to admit, I do watch Joey Fix's stuff over in the UK. There's my mate Vince, and there's also Kip Hakes. Mark Fix's stuff. More fun making it, more fun fixing it. All sorts of good channels. And then I'm also going to have to give a special shout out to a channel that has nothing to do with repair while I'm shouting out channels. Maybe I should write these notes of like things I think to say. Let me see. Can I remember his channel name real quick? Okay. I'm gonna have to come back on that one. Oh no, that's it. I got it. I got it. I got it. It's. Oh wow, actually, okay. He plays the firsts of video games, so this is why it's kind of a honorable mention because he has nothing to do with repair. He plays first video games. I found his channel. Um, he's got a different style. It's not quite Nick. I'm glad to see he's actually up to like 4.3K subscribers. Because I think I found him while he was at like 300. Hey, we have Joe's Computer Museum. All right, now that I've done a few shout outs, let me go set my chip tester to 74LS 138. All right, so we have can I show my chip tester? Yes, I can. I have a Retro Chip Tester Pro. So there we go. And I am going to see here. Take one of the 74LS 138s out of computer. This one is a... Oh, interesting. I don't know where I got this one. Joe is asking, can I send it to you for something to build on your stream? Yeah, let's talk about that, Joe. I think you might be able to talk me into that. All right, so this one. Well, that's why it looks weird. So this one is definitely allegedly a Texas Instruments chip, but I don't know exactly what was happening with their printing machine on the day that was printed. That looks rather sloppy. But SN74LS138N, that is definitely at least claiming to be Texas Instruments. Yes, it is a 3 to 8 decoder, despite the fact that the Retro Chip Tester Pro has a typo and is claiming it is a 1 to 8 decoder. So let's see here. And Jason says that splat is vaguely Texas shaped. Yes. Okay, so that one is claiming to be good. All right, so I'm going to set that there. Let's pull the other one. And the thing is, if one of them tests bad, then obviously we'll replace it. Oh, this one looks kind of weird. Although it could just be like oil from my fingers or something, or someone's finger. Or it could actually be a the DM74LS138N. I do not know. I do not recognize that logo. The top of the chip looks like someone has sanded it and forgot to paint it and then marked it. The bottom kind of looks weird too. Oh, Joe says that looks that looks legit. Yeah. I mean, it could just be a chip that's been around the block a couple times, but all right. Well, both chips claim to be fine. Oh, Thomas says it's an on semi part. Okay. Okay. It's an older logo of theirs. That's probably why I didn't recognize it. All right, so both of these chips claim to be good, but I'm not sure. All right. I'm going to replace one of them, and then we'll see what happens. We'll boot and see what happens. All right. So this one's date code is 642. So that is a rather old chip. This one's date code is undecipherable, which probably means it's from this decade. It's probably if I had to guess, it's yeah, the TI chip is much newer. So I'm thinking the TI chip is probably a modern chip, and Thomas Armstrong says made in Mexico. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to make a guess because I don't know that if both chips are bad. I'm going to call them marginal. So the on semi chip that looks like it's been around the block, I'm going to presume that maybe it has been around the block, maybe a little too much. And I'm going to try swapping it out first. And I'm going to swap it with one of these 74 LS138s that I got from eBay. That are NTE. And it looks like the non-54M. Okay, I think this bag is new enough that it's probably not from the 80s. But it looks awfully new for 90s. But maybe the chip has, I don't know how they made their chips. I'm going to say this is probably from the 90s. Maybe the bag was just stored really well. I'm going to say it's probably from 99. All right, good night, Joseph. All right, so we're going to try swapping the 74LS138 that was at G2 with one of these from eBay. The one I just tested to make sure at least initially looked like it was working. All right, so I got the notch lined up. There we go. All right. The Texas Instruments chip is back in. All right, so let me put our disk controller card in. Let me put our Saturn card in. I believe that I was using slot. I think I was using slot 3. I'm going to try to keep that constant. All right, let's see here. Keyboard's plugged in. Floppy emu is the side. And we should have... Oh, there we go. And we are booting from the Saturn Systems disk. Oh, let me go to... We'll go back to table cam so you can see the LEDs. All right, so I think it was B-Run RAM Test 128K, I think was the name of the program. All right. So we are going to test 3, slot 3. Is that right? Let me double check. 1, 2, 3. Ooh, right error. Okay. That. All right, that did not fix our problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 74LS138 out that I just put in. I'm going to put our one semi chip back. After I make sure I got the... All right. So let's maybe take the modern chip out. You know, maybe I should have tried the modern chip first. Because there is a chance that the modern chip is actually like a... yeah, I should have probably picked it first. The modern chip might actually be closer to a 74HC 245. Or not 245, 138. And that might explain our problem. Because I don't know that Texas Instruments... I've heard that they don't actually make like LS versions of the chip anymore. But I don't know. You read a lot of things on the internet that are worth the price of the bits to store the data. Oop, Thomas says the pins on TI parts have gotten so flimsy. That is... Ooh. Okay. So that was not it. How about let's... All right, let's take another one of those 74 LS138s. There's a reason why I bought an auction that had 3 of them. That was just in case we had to replace both. All right, so I am going to... Luckily, I've got my retro chip tester at the ready. Let's just at least sanity check this one. Although I am beginning to believe the problem may not be... All right. There we go. I have now 2 74 LS138s. If this doesn't work, we're going to try an S chip. And I may just replace them both. Oh. It would appear as if computer has frozen. Or at least the test program hung. Alright, let's try that. Possible that might point... Alright. So we want slot 3. Okay. So that was not it. Alright. So let's see here. Alright. Okay. So I'm going to try the S variants. In the event that the problem we're having is some sort of a loading issue. Although if it's a loading issue, this may not totally fix the problem. Because I think there's some other chips involved on the bus. However... I don't think it can hurt to try these. Alright. So let's take the... Alright, there's that one. Maybe I should at least run the chip tester on them. Eh. There we go. There's one. There's that one. And I probably should run the chip tester on it too. So if this is not the problem, then I think we'll probably test something All right. So I have now installed well, do not prematurely announce it. There we go. I have now installed two 74S 138s. Oh. So B run RAM test 128. Thomas says, oh, I have tubes of 54S 138. Um, it, yeah, the program crashed. I can tell it crashes because the floppy emu will get stuck on track 19 and it'll say write. This should not be trying to write to the disk. Kind of leads me to believe there might be a second problem. All right, slot 3. All right, so that is not it. All right, so we... All right. For comparison, I actually have a parts Apple II Plus board, and it looks like Apple used the 74LS 138, so... Yeah. Okay, that's not going to help us, though. There's too many missing chips. All right. So let's try something here. I'm going to very carefully unplug the keyboard. Let me set that to the side for a moment. All right. I'm going to remove the power supply connection. I'm going to remove the cards. And let's see, video connection and the speaker. Now I'm going to steal the box I was using to insulate the keyboard. Which means I'll have to find another keyboard insulator, but that's a future me problem, as in a few minutes from now, future me. Oh, because I thought to go find my other Apple II Plus clone board, complete with internet breaking, missing labels, EEPROM chips. So I am going to use the same disk controller. I'm going to put the same memory card there. I am going to put our Saturn card in slot 3. We've got our power. There we go. For anyone wondering, yeah, 74 LS 138. Let's see here. Whoop. Now it's now past me. Made this a current me problem. Plug our keyboard in. What can I set this on? Oh, there we go. This box will probably be fine. Hi, Kevin. Welcome. All right. So there we go. Oh, I forgot to plug the speaker in. Oh well, that's fine. All right. Plug the speaker in. All right. RAM test 128K. Okay, let's see here. Slot 3. Ah! Well, okay. So, I think we've confirmed something has failed on computer. I can tell you computer's video output looks better than this one, but that could just be something needing to be tuned. So, I don't think these boards are... I don't know if they're like 100% the same. Thomas says there aren't that many chips that go to the slots. Yeah, I'll have to pull up the schematics of intimidation and kind of not that readableness. It's probably more of the oh, that's right. Someone sent me a redrawn schematics. All right. Okay. Oh, here it is. I think it's on page 9 of these redrawn schematics. It's the IO address decode logic. All right. So while we wait for that memory test to run, all right, we'll talk to you later, Thomas. All right, so it looks like from looking at these schematics, the 74LS138 in, I guess it's going to be G12 on computer, is selecting the slots 1 through 7. Which is basically going to select the IO address space. See, it's basically going to select which of the address. It's going to determine address lines 8, 9, and 10. So C000 to C0FF is going to be slot 0. So if none of the select lines are on for slot, then... Oh, no, that's an output. Oh, yeah, it's a slot select output. Okay. So, yeah, based on address lines 8, 9, and 10, it selects the slot. All right. And if all 3 address lines are 0, then it selects C000 to C0FF, which is then going to go to another 74LS138 at F13 to select cassette out, speaker out, and game port strobe. Okay, so that's not where our problem might be. Now, the 74LS138 at G2 is... Oh, okay, so at G12, that's the ROM address space select for peripheral cards. So the one at G2 is going to select the peripheral card IO locations. Well, seemingly looking at this redrawn schematic, those are the only 2 chips that are doing addressing for peripheral card ROMs and IO locations. So this might be this might be a problem that's like more general than IO, the peripheral cards. So let's see here. Let me go to the RAM addressing multiplexing. All right, we're still running the test, and it's looking healthy on this board. Actually, maybe I should look at the buffer chips on the CPU. Okay, so the CPU the address lines coming off the CPU are, I think, buffered through the 1897s on an Apple II Plus, which I believe on the clones are actually trying to read the writing on the chip. Hold, please. I can't read the writing upside down and backwards. It's a generic chip part. They're equivalent. Maybe I should check the one at G4. And G. Actually, I should probably check all three of them. Because I guess if there's a problem with the address lines, specifically the higher address lines, then that might only show up when we're doing expansion card addressing. So, all right, we'll check those with the chip tester. The data lines are buffered through an 8304 that's going to be probably at G10. Or at least it's an 8304 on the Apple II Plus. Again, it's a common chip on these clones. That one, I'm less convinced that one's the problem. All right. I think what we'll do, okay, I'm going to let this finish running. I want to make sure the card is... Well, actually, I don't need to let this finish running. Because we know this second board here is working fine. We don't need to wait for that to finish running. All right. It ran longer. I mean, it actually got to the memory test. Computer didn't get that far. I think that's good enough to... It's good enough to say that the fault is on computer. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to first check those chips that I said I was going to. The buffer chips for the data and address. And then if those test fine, then I think what I'll do is I will pull them out of computer and I will, one at a time, swap them into this board that's working, and we'll see if any of them cause this board to stop working. So I think the chips that are in question it's this 74LS 251. I believe that's one of the buffer chips. No, it's the 74LS 245. That's one of the buffer chips. And then the other three are these 74LS 367s. So these are going to be the address line buffer chips, and this is going to be the data line buffer chip. So we're going to test those 4 parts from computer, and then if they test fine on computer, I'm going to pull them, and we'll put them in one by one and see if this board stops working. I'm also looking to spot check any other things that might be different. I know I've got a 74. All right. So let's do this. So, all right, we will start with the 74 LS 245 here. All right. I'm I'm less convinced it'll be the problem because it's a data line buffer, but we'll test it. All right. All right. So I'm not gonna put it back in just yet. All right. So let's see here. The next ones are in a separate menu because they break the. So the first menu of 74 series chips is 0 to 299, and then there's the and then 300. I think like 500 is or something like that's the next one. All right, so I do still have these NTE chips in computer. We did prove that they were not the fix, so I'm going to go and pull them out, and I'm going to put the original chips back in. Or actually, I'm not going to press them in just yet, in case I don't find a bad buffer chip, because I will include them on the ones I try on this other board that works. So let's try these 367s. Confirm I got the right part. 74 LS 367. All right. All right. Well. Oh, there is also another chip that we will, if we do resort to testing chips in the second board, there is one more that we're going to pull and test. If anyone in the chat wants to guess which one, it is on screen right now. All right, so none of those are bad, and those are the buffer chips. So let me find a little space on my foam here. All right, so there's our 138, our 367s, our 245, our other 138, and might as well, because, I mean, it is seemingly inconceivable but yet I guess possible. So there we go. We're going to test these chips in the other board, because these are our address select logic for peripheral cards, data line buffers, our address line buffers, and our CPU. So if you guessed Justin was going to pull the CPU, you guessed correctly. If you didn't guess, well, I wouldn't blame you for not trying to guess what I'm going to do. Now, what's the chances the CPU's bad? I don't probably fairly low. But I mean, it's possible that maybe one of the address lines is bad on the CPU. All right, so there's that. 1, 2, 3. And I think the order I'm going to test these in probably tell you my opinion on. So I'm going to only test these chips one at a time. But anyways, all right. So I think I'm going to just go front to back, or at least my front to my back. So it's going to be in numerical order. So the first one we'll try is the 138 that's going to be in G2. Okay. I think there's a low probability that it's the problem, but I mean, it is possible that I just simply have a bunch of marginal 138s. So it is not, I guess, not outside the realm of possibilities. All right. Yeah, we will. Yep. I'll, I'll swap a chip. We will start the memory test. We will let it start to get into the static tests just to make sure it's going to run. If we have a failure, then, well, we'll go through the rest of the chips regardless in case I have more than one bad, but anyways, I would like to at least let it get far enough so I see it switches banks. So want at least a little bit of confidence. Well, There we go. Okay. So, not the 138 in G2. Fair enough. All right. So, we'll put that one back. I guess while I get the next chip in, if anyone's wondering what board this is one I bought off eBay, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. It's a untested clone board, which the first problem I noticed with it is that it had a whole bunch of tantalum capacitors installed where there should have been ceramics. And it appears as if some of them were installed backwards, so I think one of the first things I did to this board was I recapped it with ceramics. I think it was also missing RAM and ROM, so I had to program some ROMs for it. Other than that, I don't remember it having any major problems. I mean, it might have been a bad logic chip or two, but now, as for the ROMs I have in this clone board, I think they're a copy of Computer's ROMs. Oh, there we go. We bank switched. Okay. So it is not not that buffer chip. Okay. We'll try the next buffer chip. Okay. There we go. We got that buffer chip in. All right. 3. Hmm. All right. While that runs, let me. Is there any select or like enable or select logic for these buffers? There's a 74 LS04 for the address line buffers that controls DMA. I guess that might be worth checking if none of these chips look bad. And then it looks like there's a 74 LS32 at C14 that controls the data line buffer. Oh, it looks like the 74 LS08 at B11 may also control DMA. So I guess there's 3 more chips to check. Okay. Well, let's stick with these. Oh, okay, so that bank switched. So that one's not it. All right. Okay, let's try. We got one more address line buffer. Then we'll try the data line buffers. And then lastly, we'll try the CPU. Only because I've pulled the CPU, so it's easy. And if none of those prove to be it, then we'll go to those other 3 chips. Anyways, if anyone was wondering, there's our schematic. This is an Apple II Plus schematic, so it's going to be close to the clones. Anyways, here's our buffer chips. These are the 3 buffer chips we're testing now. Then we're going to test the data line buffer. Then we'll test the CPU. And then if none of those are them, we'll test these 3 chips. C11, B11, and C14. Okay. Back to table cam. The new logic chips did not fix it. So I have pulled the bus transceivers out of computer. So basically I've got another clone board. It's running, the other clone board works. Computer still doesn't. So I've pulled all the bus transceivers out of computer and I am testing them one by one in the working clone board. Because, all right, and this chip is not it. Okay. So it does not appear as if it's the address line buffers. All right. And if none of those are them, then I guess we'll have to look at other things that might be wrong with computer. What's the Joe's asking, what's the problem with the machine again? The Saturn card does not work in computer. And if you try to run the diagnostic program freaks out. So at first I thought it was the basically the diagnostic program can't change modes on the card. I think was what the problem it's having is. I did consider that, Joe, but considering this clone board is currently running with a copy of Computer's ROMs, it's not. I think that rules out ROM difference. Also, the Saturn clone card I am attempting to use was made by the manufacturer of Computer. In fact, I believe it was included with Computer because it's got a silkscreen branding that is identical to the one on Computer's motherboard. I think they came together as a set. So I'm fairly sure it should work in Computer. I've been able to get the Saturn clone board. I can run the diagnostics in an Apple IIe, and I can get them to run on this clone board, but they won't run on Computer. I'm thinking there's a problem with one of the... Computer occasionally locks up, so I have been suspecting there is a bad chip on Computer still, but it is one that I have so far been unable to determine which one it is. I am hoping this Saturn clone cards problem might have a common root cause, because that potentially might fix both problems. That would be nice. All right, so that one, that does not seem to be the cause. Yeah, that's what I'm basically doing. I'm systematically going through and checking all the chips, and I'm swapping them until I find one that, when I swap it, the problem follows the chip. All right, so let's try this 138 here. Yeah, all right. And if this doesn't solve the... All right, so if this chip also doesn't cause the problem, I don't think it should, because I've already tried replacing this chip on Computer, but I'm being thorough. This is the other 74 LS138. And if it passes with this one, or at least starts to run, then I'm going to swap CPUs. Because I've got the CPU out, it's easy. It's not one I can test in my chip tester. I mean, I don't think the CPU should be bad, but I guess... I guess it could be marginal or bad. They are all from the early 80s, so... at some point, the silicon will probably degrade to where it won't work. Quite honestly, the 6502s, for the most part, seem to have been made really well. So I was kind of hoping that they might still have a bit more life in them, but because Moss didn't make them. They're all, I think they're both Signetics, and then I happen to have another Signetics one I think I pulled out of an Apple II Plus. So basically, for anyone that joined late, so I'm letting this run long enough to see that it switches banks. That's as far as I need to go to know that really, if it was going to fail for the same reason computers failing, it should actually fail a lot sooner than that. But I'm just giving it the chance to make sure that the test actually gets going. So, all right, let's put our 138 back in. All right, so let's swap CPUs here. I can get the CPU out. There we go. Ooh. Oh, hold on. That's probably fine. A few pins that are... All right, we didn't break pins. Yeah. Jesse says every car is great until it has issues. Oh, actually, no, this one's got a Rockwell CPU. My bad. All right, that's a Rockwell. So computer has a Signetics. So let's go ahead and... So I think it was from 83, week 11. At some point, I'm going to have to replace this CPU socket because it's kind of worse for wear. But I think... All right, there we go. I'm actually kind of hoping that this might actually reproduce the problem. All right. Nope. Should have probably saw that one coming. All right, so I guess our next three chips in our systematic search for the problem are there's a 74 LSO4 around C11. Should be one at around C11. Yep. All right, there is one at C11 on this clone board that's on top. Should be a 74LS08 at B11. All right, there's a shadow there, so I can't confirm at the moment. And then there should be a 74LS32 at C14. And I believe there is. All right, we will check those three next. All right, so it was not the CPU. All right. So let me go ahead and take computers chips back. And I'll go ahead and put them back in computer because these were not the guilty chips. And we will oh. Let me see if I can find my pin straightener because I think I bent the pins on the CPU pulling it out of the socket. It's not cooperating. Well, I guess I don't need to put it in right away, so give me a moment to find where I put it. All right. Let's go back to computer here. Find those three chips, and we'll put them in the retro chip tester. All right. So, all right. So there's our 74 LS04. And then there should be a 74 LS32, which I believe that is it. And then there should be a 74 LS08 here. I believe that is the case. Yes. All right. So we'll start with the 74 LS08. It looks like it is controlling the I'm not hopeful that it's going to be the bad one, but because I think it's just controlling the memory access for the video circuit. But then again, maybe it could be sticking and interfering with our Saturn card. So it's an 08. All right, so that one appears to be okay. We will set that one loosely on top. All right, so let's try this 74 LS04 here. Which is an NTE branded chip. Alright. We'll set that loosely there. And then this should be the 74LS32, which it is. Oops. All right. All three of those appear to be working. Hi, Jean-Francois Paré, welcome. And hi, George something 5, welcome. Yeah, George says, testing intensifies. Yes, I'm trying to systematically test chips on computer, and the ones I just pulled don't appear to be bad. All right, let me see if I can't get the CPU back in the clone board I'm using for comparative testing, and then we'll try these 3 chips in that board. Hold please while I try to find the object. The object on my desk that doesn't want to be found right now. It is unfortunately too small for an AirTag. Mm-hmm. Oh. How in the world do I have 3 drive controller cards? 4. 1. Oh, because that's not a disc. Okay. Because that's not a drive controller card. I only have 3 on my bench. Okay. That makes more sense. Because I have the one that was in computer. I have the one that was in my Apple IIe, and I've got one that I think I brought down from upstairs that was in another Apple. Okay. All right. Fact has been sanity checked, and I see how I have 3 on my bench. All right. Hi, hardware hacker. Welcome. Let's see here. Where did I put? All right. I don't know where. All right. Don't know where the object I'm looking for went. Let me see if I can maybe get the CPU back in the socket if I'm not. I'm trying to do it at my vantage point and not live stream vantage point. I might be able to get it in. There we go. All right. It's back in. Okay. So we have now for our testing consideration. Oh, let me put these back into computer here. So there's our 74LS138 that we both tried replacing and testing in another board. There's our 74LS 245. Here's our original Signetic CPU. Oh, thank you, Hardware Hacker, for the first donation of the month. Thank you. Help me get parts for computer, because I may need them. Alright. There's our 74 LS367s. And there's our other 74 LS138. Put those back in so I don't lose them. Alright, so we got a 74 LS08, a 74 LS04, and a 74 LS32. And if these don't fix it, or if one of these doesn't cause the problem to go away, then I'll have to stare at the schematic some more. I think I can get to all three of these. Yeah, I can get to all three of these with cards installed, so this will hopefully go a little quicker. Alright, so let's start with the most likely of the three. The 74 LS32. It looks like it's involved in setting the data buffer on the CPU from read to write. Alright, so we'll pull that one out. It was working. Let's put the one in from computer. Alright. Thomas Armstrong says, I found more 54XX parts while they are old. Yeah, they would be old, because weren't those the actually I don't remember what rating those were. Alright. So slot 3. Thomas says ceramic package TTL mil spec. Yeah, I was thinking mil spec. Alright, I do not believe this is the chip at fault. Okay. It's not the 74LS32. We'll put the original back. Oh, I had to confirm my location as well. It um I did that before the stream because luckily I saw that when I went to update the um goal for the month. But yeah, I had to update my location on coffee too. I not sure why they were doing that. All right, 74 LSO4. This one is I think maybe a NOT gate on DMA or something. I don't know. It is going to the address line buffer, so I guess if there was something wrong with it, it might. But no, I have a feeling it's fine. I have a feeling these three chips are fine. I have a feeling the fault is somewhere else. Oh, interesting. Oh, okay, so we bank switched there. Oh, yeah, I don't remember them sending an email out about that update, so all right. So lastly of these three, it's the 74LS08. And then I was just looking at the schematic. I got another chip possibility that I overlooked because it at first looked like it's ROM selection, but then I realized it's got the IO selects and device selects going into it. Alright, so this is the 74LS08 at B11. And as I suspected, it is not, also not the troublemaker. So we will go to the next one that I probably should test, and I would have tested it sooner had I seen what I was going out of it and in it. There is another 74LS138 at F12. And I should probably test the 74LS257 at H1, because it looks like these clone manufacturers might have swapped what chip is there at H1, because on an Apple II Plus, it's a 74LS08. Alright, so that is not it. So those three chips were not the problem. Alright. So the next set, I'm trying to be systematic. Trying not to just simply throw the parts cannon at the board or start pulling all the chips. I'm trying to be systematic and find the chips that could be doing activities that might affect addressing a peripheral card. And again, for those of you that just joined, I'm not totally convinced that the chip in computer is outright bad. I do acknowledge the fact it could be marginal, and adding the Saturn card might be too much of a load for it. So, alright, let me put these three chips back in. There's our 74LS08. There's our 74LS04. And there's our 74LS32. Okay. Now, for the next set, I said I was going to test the... There's a 74LS138 at F12. Yep. Right there it is. And I want to test the 74LS257 at H1. Okay. Because those are... Oh, let me hide that for a moment. Because as I'm looking on the schematic, these are on the... I think that's the ROM select logic. But if you'll note, there's slot 0. And then there's the IO strobe. It goes to all peripheral connectors when it goes low when accessing address range C800 to CF00 which is where the Saturn card is going to be. Ooh. Ooh, I wish I'd seen that. Yeah, we should definitely test this chip. Let me get busy scrolling. Oh. Okay. So I'm going to set that one to the side. So I'm going to test our 257. And actually, the other thing I'm going to do, in case that chip is marginal, I'm going to actually try one of our new 74 LS 138s. Hi, Mike. Mike's Future Retro is here. Hi, Mike. Greetings, Retro Tech friends, says Mike's Future Retro. Anyone have a Cube 3rd generation 3D printer? Not sure what a Cube 3D printer is. I have a 3D printer made by a company that is not like not the printer that the 3D printing YouTubers want to have right now. All right. So I'm going to try replacing that chip. We'll try computer. I'm somewhat curious if that was maybe the mystery problem child, and if that doesn't solve it, then we'll take those two chips out and try them in the other clone board, like we have the others. Okay. Oh, it would help if I plugged the keyboard in. There we go. Oh, Mike says it was one I picked up at the East Swap Meet, and now after picking it up for cheap, $40, I'm finding out that it may be a dead-end project out of the box. Some of our 30 and 40-year-old tech has more support than a less than 5-year-old 3D printer. That is sadly true. Ah, well, the program froze while loading again. So something tells me this chip is probably not the cause. Or if the crashing or the loading stops problem is Oh, it did it again. Let me try power cycle. Oh, it's loading this time. Okay, so that replacing that chip did not fix the problem. All right. Okay. However, what we're going to do is tray those two chips in the other clone board now. Oh, actually, I just realized there's a pair of 74 LS138s. Okay, fair enough. All right, so there's two 74 LS138s here, not just one. So we will try swapping them one at a time, just in case on the clone. Maybe they swapped what they do to make it look like their computer was less of a clone. I mean, they wouldn't do that now, would they? I think the statement that comes to mind for that sarcastic question is there's no honor among thieves. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they swapped which one of those 138s does what to be able to say that, oh, we didn't copy Apple's design. Look, it's different. And I forgot to plug the keyboard in again. That is going to be a continuing problem, apparently. I will continue to forget to plug the keyboard in until I put the thing together and the keyboard is part of it. And even then, I will probably forget to plug the keyboard in. All right, this is the first, or I guess 74 LS138 in another position. And this one appears to be probably okay. Mike says, I just don't want to drop major money on a 3D printer yet. I wanted a basic starter 3D printer to get my feet wet. Yep, I believe this is also Nope. Alright, I don't need to let it go as far because I think I can tell that that's. There we go. That one. Okay, there's the other one. Okay. Carter Hacker says Creality Ender series printers aren't terribly expensive, but Bamboo Labs might have a better offer. Sakarin says I have 3 Vorons I built by hand. I'm going to point out that it's Bamboo Labs that is suing an open source developer right now. Or I think that's so you can go check it out on YouTube. There's plenty of videos on the topic. I think it I haven't really watched many of the videos because I think I got the general gist of what's happening. Carter Hacker says Voron sounds like a Doctor Who baddie. Yeah, Sakarin says, yeah, Bamboo is breaking the GPL and suing devs and modders. Yep. Therefore, you won't have to worry about me seeking out Bamboo Labs for sponsorship. It kind of makes the job easier. It's just one more company to mark off my list. All right, so there's those two. Let's try this one. It's here on the far edge of the board. All right. Oh, well, that's interesting. That's the chip I just pulled out of this board, and it's had a bent pin for I don't know how long. Wow, wouldn't it be funny? That would be totally ironic if I put this chip in and it breaks, and it's that bent pin that was allowing it to work. That would kind of be poetic. It's also possible that pin is not used at all. It's a non-used element. I guess I probably should unbend it and at least fix that problem. Nope, that's not the problem. And now I need to find my pliers as to wherever they've gone on my bench. Actually, let me save myself some time and. Oh, well, there's that. Found my chip pin straightener. Do not know where my pliers went, but I think with the there we go. I think I there we go. I think I fixed our bent pin. And this is not the chip we're looking for. All right. Interesting. Let me make sure this board still works when I put this chip back in, since I did have to unmangle a pin. Yeah, probably will work just fine. I have a feeling that was a non-used pin. All right. So let's see here. Do I see anything on the schematics? There, all right. Is there anything in the clock generation circuit that Mike says, I did get an Apple II GS color monitor and pristine for 40 years old, condition and fully working, plus a black and green NZXT PC case at the swap meet and some 500-watt Antex ATX power supplies. Nice. All right, I am... Hardware Hacker says, all the files are on my gaming PC, so that's the start. I'll start with getting it back to where it was and then add the appropriate grounding so I don't zap it again, but that'll have to wait. Printer is up in Maine. I'm in Massachusetts. Okay, let's see here. Trying to think next step. Do we potentially have a marginal chip on the Saturn clone card itself? I don't know that that makes sense because it works in 2 boards but not 3. All right, is there anything else somewhere? That's clock. I don't know the clock generation page is going to be to blame. Which page is this? This is the RAM address multiplexing page. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, I just realized that 74LS257 is not the chip I thought it was. Okay, let me go back to the RAM or the RAM or no, it's the ROM page. I just realized the 74 LS08 at H1. It's I had the wrong chip. Hi Jack, welcome. The chip at H1 on these clone boards is actually at a different location on the Apple II Plus. Actually, the 74LS08 I am looking for is actually... Oh, there it is. It's actually here on the clone boards. So that's the one I need to check on computer. So let's go back to computer. I forgot. On these clone boards, they move where that chip is. I don't know why they move it, but it might be because I think some of these boards do use a few different chips to do the same thing Apple did. for various reasons. All right. Let's go back to computer again. I guess I'm glad I got this clone board, because it's making it easier to troubleshoot another clone board, even though we have not found the problem yet. All right. Let's go ahead and put these 3 chips back in. So this 74LS257 is actually on an Apple II Plus board. I looked at the schematic again. It's actually... well, actually, yeah, it's right there. The rows are slightly different numbered or something like that. So actually, the one I wanted was... yeah, the schematic, it's at H1, but on the clones, it's actually at G1. So I pulled the wrong chip completely for testing. So we'll put that in the chip tester here. Oh, but let me get our 274 LS238s to go here and here. Let's get those back in. Okay. So this 74LS08 is... looks like it might be an AND gate, if I remember my symbols right. Yep, it's a NAND gate. So it looks like it's doing a not AND of address lines 14 and 15 in one of the to the E3 input of the 74 LS138 at F12. All right, so let's see here. Oh wait, that's not an... oh, that's the wrong 74LS08. Yeah, AND gate. I had it right. I was looking at it right. It is an AND gate. Jax says, what's the recap? What happened tonight? Well, I've been trying to systematically go through the schematics and find the chips that could be causing the problem, and I have not been successful. The chips have tested good in the retro chip tester, and when I go to swap them out, when I try them in a clone board, the Saturn card works. So I've been swapping them chip by chip. So I've been both testing them in the Retro Chip Tester Pro and then also swapping them into another clone board that is not exhibiting the problem with the Saturn card. And at least when I do single chip swaps, oh, it would probably help if I plugged the keyboard in. Yeah, I've been double testing them and still haven't found any failures. Yeah, I'm trying to methodically test them. I don't want to. I'm just because it would be too. I mean, it would take a long time, but it would be too easy to just start pulling all the chips. I've been trying to pull chips that look like they're either buffer chips or they are decoding an address of some sort, or are selecting like slot selection or something like that. So yeah, this is not the all right. So I've got another idea. I might be able to swap this one. I'm not going to run it through the chip tester. I'm just going to swap it because it's at the very corner of computer. So there's a 74LS00, and it is actually doing it's got a RAM selection signal coming out of it. So I'm just going to swap it in. It's easy enough to oops, run. I didn't plug the speaker in, if anyone's wondering why it's not beeping at me. Nope. Alright, doesn't look like that's the problem child. I don't. So I'm overlooking anything that's in the video generation circuit because I don't think that's it. I don't think because the video we're not like seeing random glitches to garbage. So I don't think we've got a problem with the circuit that's swapping between video and non-video accesses because I think we would see that on screen. The color fringing you're seeing is a side effect of not quite NTSC output of an Apple II going into a digital scaler. It hates it. So that is not a sign that we've found a problem. And yeah, this clone board looks worse than computer in that respect. All right. So we've checked the CPU. We've checked the address and data line buffers that are beside the CPU. We've checked all four 74LS138s that are on the board. We've checked some of the other components that have to do with like read write or other like mode selections. None of those appear to be bad. Only thing I haven't done is like swapped RAM chips in case like could it be that I've got some RAM chip that's pulling the that doesn't make sense. Jack's like, are there any other chips that can write to the data bus? Well, the RAM chips could. I mean, we do have the problem where the computer is occasionally crashing. Or at least the test program I'm trying to run will occasionally like stop loading. I mean, I guess it could be RAM. Yeah, that's what I'm beginning to wonder if something's stomping on the bus when it's not supposed to. I guess I can't rule out that it's not something on the Saturn card. I mean, it could be something on the Saturn card. Yeah, that chip wasn't it. Okay, so I can put that chip back. I'm trying to think. Could there be something bad on the Saturn card itself or marginal where on an Apple IIe it works and it works on this clone board, but not on computer. Yes, I've had issues with computer randomly crashing with the Saturn card not installed. So maybe maybe that's maybe I've got two problems and but the one that's more apparent is the one that I can run a diagnostic and it flags the error. I guess we could do something here with the Saturn card. So right now I've got one of those replacement chips that I bought on eBay and installed the Motorola chips. Maybe I'm gonna put the original Motorola chip back in. Because I don't think although boy would that be funny if I reproduce the problem. When I do the RAM test, is there a specific bit that always tests bad? I think when I last ran dead test on computer, I I thought we got a pass. I thought we finally got it to pass after I replaced a bunch of chips. I mean, maybe. All right, so I think the Saturn card. I I can't say that all the RAM on the Saturn card is working, but because I was on the Apple IIe seeing, oh, but it was with RAMWerks, which I think we realized was maybe not exactly compatible with the Saturn card. So I don't think we've gotten a RAM error with the Saturn diagnostic program. All right, so let's go back to computer. All right, so this clone board has done admirably, and I will put it back into its storage bag. Believe me, I have resisted the temptation to put this clone board in computer and call it a day. Because believe me, that would be so much easier. Because I think that clone board is actually working. Okay, so I'm going to leave. I'm just going to put my dead test card of dubious quality in. I'm not going to plug the keyboard in. That's the weird thing about this. The weird thing about this dead test ROM, which we never figured out, is that it sometimes claims that all the bits in the 0 page are bad, which I don't think is the case. But I thought I came to the conclusion that if I... Oh, wait a minute. This board's been powered down for I don't know how long. Never mind. Yeah, I don't know that I've seen a RAM failure on the Saturn card since I was able to get since I found the Saturn RAM test. Yeah. It was that RAMWerks that I was seeing RAM errors on. But RAMWerks was also was not was not banking the card properly if you watch the LEDs. Yeah, I don't know what's up with the 0 page errors on this computer. You know, that is one other thing we could do. I'll pull the other clone board out. We should see if that other clone board, if we power it up the first time, do we get a 0 page error? To see if I can get it to run, we get no memory errors on the onboard RAM on computer. But it seems like the first time we power it up, we get a 0 page error of all the bits. Which maybe, you know, that does give me a idea. Maybe we have a RAM multiplexing issue after all. Because I think the RAM multiplexing circuit also generates the RAS and CAS signals for refreshing memory. Let me see, where is the board generating the RAS and CAS signals? Hold on. So CAS is on the 74LS139 at F2. That's generating the CAS lines for bank C, D, and E. Okay. And RAS is being generated. There we go. I think it's on the. Oh, there we go. There's a 74 LS 195 at C2. It looks like that's generating RAS and CAS. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think that's what I'm seeing, Jack. So I just noticed um okay, so the clone board that's working has a 74 LS 195 at C2. I just realized computer has a 74S 195. Interesting. And the board is marked for an S part. Huh, I wonder. Now, this is probably only the 0-page issue, but I wonder if that 74S 195 is maybe too fast? Could that be? I'm gonna actually test it, because it is I think it is generating. It is a shift register, and I think it is generating RAS and CAS for DRAM refresh. All right, this is a case of where I'm going to take the chip out of the working board and put it in computer. And let's see what it does when I power it up. Yeah, Thomas is asking, do both computers use the same ROMs encode? Yeah, this second clone board I bought on eBay was missing all its ROMs, so I actually programmed a set of computers ROMs for it. So they should be running the same ROMs. I just put the 74LS195 in computer, and it had been off for long enough that I was expecting it to give us a 0-page error, and the test fired right up. So I'm actually wondering if that was the problem of our 0-page errors on power up, that maybe the 74S195 is too fast. Because I think Apple actually did use the 74LS195. Alright, now the problem is, do I have any... Alright, I'm trying to see if I've got any 74LS195s. Yeah, I'll have to go look for parts. Yeah, Thomas Armstrong says the S parts are faster to switch and handle more current. Alright, so if I put the... Actually, I'm tempted to try this, because we are about to hit the end of the stream. So I just want to try something. So if I put our disk controller in, I'm not expecting... Well, actually, you know, I'm not even going to try to call this. Alright, there's our Saturn card. There's this RAM, so we can boot this. Here's our keyboard. So the only chip that I've installed in computer, I replaced that 74S195 with the 74LS195. I really don't expect that to fix the Saturn card problem. But then again... Oh. Jack's asking, is this the chip that's a 74LS on a genuine Apple II, or does that chip not exist on it? It does exist, and I don't have an Apple II down here to answer your question. Well, that's interesting. That's a different error than we were getting. That is progress. So it looks like... Okay, I would say that's progress. Yeah, it looks like I need to... Thomas says the next step is 54S parts. Hi, Lazy Bite Boy. Welcome. Because it looks like it's giving RAM. That's weird. Did I? All right, let's try this again. Made sure the card was seated. Make sure I'm testing slot 3. All right, bank 1-1, F397. Yeah, it looks like bit 1. I'm not sure how to interpret the output from that error either. Let me see if the manual says. I think I do have the manual here. Possible it doesn't say because... Okay. We run the appropriate RAM test program. Ask for the slot number. Okay. Diagnostic will run for several minutes, and upon successful completion, it'll say enter slot numbers to test. Of course, the manual does not say how to read the error message. Because 2 pages later, it's got the RAM board warranty statement and their address and phone number. Probably because they know if you get an error, you're going to call them. One slight problem, they've been out of business for, 30-ish years, I would guess. Yeah, C0B3 is the location for enabling Bank 1-1. So I know that's what that is. And I have a feeling the next address is the address. And then the next one appears to be bits, and then it's got a value. And I'm presuming that it maybe wrote 00 and read 3A. Yeah, I don't know what the first one was doing. Well, that's progress. So the good news is, I think we might have figured out what was causing the 0-page errors. think the accidental use of a 74S195 may have been what was causing that. Possibly because it was switching too fast and causing RAM refresh errors, which would cause zero page errors. Maybe it was one of those that once it got running, it would generally stay running. Well, you know, that could cause random lockups too if it wasn't refreshing the RAM correctly. If it was like, that could have totally caused, I wonder if maybe that was my lockup issue. The RAM just wasn't getting refreshed correctly. But it wasn't so catastrophic that we lost memory, but, or at least we didn't lose it to the point where I couldn't do a control reset and reboot and recover, but maybe we were not refreshing it correctly and maybe losing. I don't know. Yeah, Jack says, you might be right that it's showing you the bad bits, the value it wrote in hex, and the value it read back in hex. Thomas says, could be the trigger time on S parts is in the nanosecond times. Jack says, is the refresh actually happening continuously? It should be happening every so many cycles. The 74 LS195, I think, is a I think that is it's a 4-bit shift register. And it is connected, I think it's connected to, oh yeah, it's got a bunch of the clock signals going into it. Yeah, I bet they're using the shift register to quite possibly every 16 ticks, or, but I don't know that it's ticks. I don't know what the ticks are. Or 16 of something is when it triggers it. Because it looks like it's using the shift register to cycle between RAS, CAS, and some other signals. I don't know. It is quite clearly based on the outputs. It is driving the refresh. So I could see that if it was refreshing too soon. Yeah, it's shift, not counter. Yeah, basically, I'm not a pro with my signals to know exactly what's going on here, but here's the 74 LS195, and I can see in the outputs we have RAS, which is active low, and CAS is active low. I don't know what DAX is, and I don't know what Q3 is, because those go somewhere else on the page. But it looks like it's got a 74 LS86. Maybe I need to check that one too. Oh no, it's a 74-166. It's like the other weird chip on some of these boards. That's actually not even a, it's like a 74-166. Kind of weird. Anyways, yeah, this is, I think, Rudy's, this is one from Rudy's Retro Intel. I don't know who redrew it. It might have been Rudy. But yeah, this one's redrawn. It's much clearer. It's legible. Anyways, so all right, so that's where we're going to stop on computer for tonight. We've got It looks like we did find one problem with computer. We had a 74. I'm trying to make sure I know where I put that chip because. So we had a 74 S195 where I believe it should have been a 74 LS195, and I think that was causing the RAM refresh to be too fast. So I'll have to get another 74 LS195 for my clone board here, or for computer and put its chip back. So that was at least one problem with computer. However, whatever is causing the Saturn board to fail in computer is still present, but it's at least not catastrophically failing now. It looks like now we're failing memory tests. So, I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe, did I not get something seeded back in computer right? All right. I know it's time to end the stream, but I am going, let me give one final look over. Let me just make sure I didn't like put something in wrong or backwards, or at least if I can quickly see it. No. Okay, those are correct. That one's correct. I got the CPU in the right way. Yeah, those are all in right. Pretty sure I got that one in right. That one's a weird alignment mark to look for. Yeah, I think those are all right. Yeah, that's the. Wait, I got that one in. Yeah, it looks like I did get all the chips back in the right way, so don't. Yeah, I'm kind of stumped as to what's going on now. So, anyways, yeah, Sadmex says catch you later. Yep. Jack says, I wonder if the S part will make the other clone board act erratically. Well, that was the other reason I was trying to find the wherever I put that chip. Because I was actually curious. Curious enough to test it right at this immediate moment? No, because it is time for me to end the stream, but curious enough that I would at least like to know that I didn't completely misplace the part, drop it on the floor, and make it impossible for me to maybe try that out at some point, which is why I was trying to find what I did with the chip. But oh, wait, it's still in my retro chip tester. Alright, because I am somewhat curious, and it won't take that long to do. Alright. I am curious enough. Alright, so I am going to do one more thing here. I'm going to take our other clone board. I'll take the clone board. I'll put the 74S195 in it. And let's end dead test. And I have a hypothesis that it will probably I can probably get it to throw a 0-page error. So let me also, though, so I can remember that that is an S part. I think the part probably works. I put a little squiggle on the part so I can remember that it's an S part. All right, so There we go, because I'm curious. There's our table cam. Here's our input. We've got dead test in, the 74 S195. Oh, I should plug the speaker in because it will play the tunes of happiness. All right, 3, 2, 1. Well, it was a good theory. Hmm. It is possible that there could have been other factors at play too, but yeah, Jack says, I suppose the issue could be the interaction between that chip and some other marginal chip in computer. Yes, that could be it. All right, so anyways, that's where we're going to stop. So, could maybe, if I let this board cool down completely and then try it, could we maybe see refresh issues? Possibly. Might it take a couple power cycles? Possibly. I mean, if I power cycled a couple times while I finish the stream, it's possible we'll hear the noise of the 0 page. Jack says, wouldn't it be interesting if you could just snap your fingers and have all the chips swapped between the two boards? Wonder what could happen. I'd probably snap my fingers and swap them all between the two boards, but they'd all be inserted backwards. That would be my luck. Anyways, yep, good night, hardware hacker. So anyways, with that, I hope you smash that like button if you like it when I try to get these old computers running, even when they are just a bit stubborn and persnickety. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you know when I go live next. Next week, I don't know if I'm going to push my luck for yet another computer stream. Although now I'm certainly curious enough to know what's going on that I might just do it. So, yeah, subscribe and turn on notifications so you know when I go live next. And yeah, we'll see what I decide to do after pondering it for a day. Because I seem like we've gotten closer. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe I can ponder the schematic some more and figure out maybe other places to look. Somewhere where I wouldn't normally think, but I'm going to look for possible interactions. But with that, because it is getting rather late and I do have to work tomorrow, even if I don't have a very early meeting. Yep, that is where I'm going to end the stream. Roar says hi. Don't forget, I got the new coffee goal. The June tip jar link is in the description. Computer is seemingly hungry and may need more chips. That tip jar helps me do things like repair computer. But with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining, hanging out in the chat, being cool. Thanks to Hardware Hacker for starting the tip jar for this month. And, yep, for those of you that missed at the beginning of the stream, if you're wondering, I did get my NAS back together earlier this week. So, it's back together. It's actually in a case. for the first time in like probably a year or two. The executive summary of that is, I had a NAS. It was a mini ATX or micro ATX motherboard and a micro ATX case with a SATA backplane. Motherboard failed. In fact, I think like the CPU and motherboard failed. Although I had no way of. It was Sandy Bridge era, so I had no way of proving exactly which of the two were failed. But like the motherboard was dead, so it could have been CPU or motherboard. Anyways, yeah, I can't complain about that board. Got good use out of it, but I did. I luckily had a AM4 motherboard that I wasn't using. I had plans to sell it on eBay, but instead I repurposed it for my NAS because it had 8 SATA channels on it. But it was a full ATX, or not extended ATX, but it was ATX, so it wouldn't fit in the case. So it's been a motherboard sitting on a box with all the SATA cables running out of the original case for I don't know how long. And then I had one of the SATA channels on the backplane of that original case fail. So one of the hard drives was not in the backplane. It looked really weird. It was sitting behind one of my chairs, but I couldn't scoot the chair all the way back because I had all these parts laying back there. Well, I finally broke down, bought a new case for it so that everything would fit in. Got it all back together. It had to steal a power supply from another computer to have enough Molex power connectors, but that's another story. Hi, Quicksilver AOS. I'm wrapping the stream up. Anyways, in the process, after I got everything back together, realized I actually had 2 hard drives that were, one of them had failed and one of them was failing. So luckily I have ZFS 2, and luckily I had 2 spare hard drives on hand. But yeah, I'm gonna have to buy some spare hard drives now. But anyways, yeah, NASA's back together and working, and so yeah. Oh, and I fixed my Premiere Pro problem. I forgot to mention that earlier. I did finally find the plugins that were causing Premiere Pro to crash. Drum roll, please. They were the plugins from the Blackmagic desktop video software that I had installed on my MacBook Air that had an Intel processor. Those were very much Intel plugins, and apparently Premiere Pro just full sends when it loads plugins, and yeah, it was probably trying to execute x86 code in an ARM program. And spoiler alert, Adobe does not help you figure out where the plugin is. I finally found a list of all the directories plugins can be in, and when I got to that directory and saw what was in the directory, I'm like, yep, I know what those plugins are, and they are not ARM. I deleted them, and then Premiere Pro runs just fine. So, yep. Anyways, yeah, productive week. So hopefully next week will be productive, and hopefully I don't manage to ignore my calendar and schedule streams when I'm not available. So anyways, don't forget to, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and hope to see you here next time. With that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Take care, and God bless. Computerized Start is brought to you by my awesome patrons on Patreon, and by your tips and memberships on Ko-fi. These and other channel supporters make my live streams possible. You too can become a channel supporter with tiers starting at just $1. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you've liked what you've seen, subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or live stream. And as always, thank you for all your support. I hope to see you next time. And until then, take care